I'm Jenniffer with Dee Cakes, and today we're going to learn how to ice a square cake with an all butter buttercream. This buttercream and many others do not crust, so we aren't going to be using any kind of paper towel or anything. This is pure butter, and it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. I've pre-crumb coated this cake, and I did not try to keep it level or square or anything, just to kind of show you what we're starting with. Our favorite tool of this is going to be a 90-degree angle that you can get at an office supply store. We put tape on this so you can see it, but it's the exact same as this. This one's taller, but it makes no difference. They come in a pack of 2 or 3. So once you've crumb coated your cake, and we've cut the hump off the top, it's still, the corners are down, it's completely out of level, it's leaning to one side, so we're starting in a bad spot. So the first thing we're going to do is put our 90-degree angle on here, and we're going to, this is an 8-inch square cake. I put an 8-inch square board under it, and then I used some icing and then added it to this 12-inch board. So the reason why I did this is because you've already got a straight line here to work with. So make sure you have a cake board under your cake that's the size that you want it. Most cake batters shrink up, change. I'll bake layers, and sometimes one's bigger and one's smaller. So this way we're going to make sure that's all the same. So you can see from looking at this that this right angle is touching this, but you've got a lot of space here that we're going to have to fill in with icing. So it's like that all the way around. So we're going to start adding icing on the sides, just like you would anything else. When you're doing something that's more than the crumb coat, this is already chilled, so you don't have to worry about getting crumbs in your icing. You just want to make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of icing to work with. Just push it around. Make sure this is a chocolate cake so that y'all could see. Just make sure you're covering up all that chocolate. Okay. No magic there. So right here I know I've got a short corner because the board's sticking out from under it. So I know I need to fill that in some. Okay. I'm also going to give me a little bit on the top, but I always add it to the corners because the corners tend to go down, and you don't want them to be. You want it to be completely straight. So I've kind of added a little bit to all the corners. So the thing here, just like a round cake, is I try to keep your spatula very, very level to start to get that leveled out. If you don't keep your spatula level, your cake will be either humpy or lower, so you got to really work at that. This is just your first. There's going to be several steps, so that's your first step. So now we're going to take our bench scraper. It's the same thing we used for the round cakes. And we're going to run it along there and wipe off our excess. I'm just starting, run it along, wipe your excess. You can kind of feel for your cardboard at the bottom, but if you keep this part of your bench scraper on your board, that's why you have to have a board below, then you're keeping you a 90-degree angle. There's my cardboard showing through there, which is totally fine. So you're going to do the same thing. You're using your cardboard as a guide, and you're also using your bench scraper as a guide. If I was trying to do this with an angled spatula, you got nothing to keep you from getting it off angle. There's no way to do that. So it's better than it was. Now if you put your tool on it now, the icing is really, really soft, so it's not going to give you, it's not going to come away clean, but we're doing this for quickness. So there you got that. It's much better than it was. Okay, so we're going to chill this up for a few minutes and then we're going to come back to it. Alright, we've waited about 10 minutes, put the cake in the freezer for a few minutes, and it doesn't look much better. No magic happened in there. So one of the next things you can do is take your little knife, and if you want to, you can cut those edges off if you left them there. There's no sense of trying to smooth that in. So you can see now we've got a little bit more corners, but we need to add a little bit more buttercream to some places where we see brown or we see bad corners. Like that's a bad corner. Well, they're all bad corners right now. So here, I'm still kind of eyeballing it because you can tell that it was really bad out of square. And using our bench scraper, we don't have to use the 90-degree angle a lot until we get to where we think we're about done. Now we could have trimmed this cake up with a knife. We could have taken that 90-degree angle and trimmed it up to a perfect square. But the problem with that is you lose cake. And if you're basing your cake on an 8-inch square and your plate, maybe you have a plastic plate or a certain stand or certain decorations and you have to have an 8-inch square, then you might be down to 7.5. So this does tend to work better for me. Keep your bench scraper straight. Use that cardboard as a guide. I do kind of let the pressure up when you get towards the end. If you push, then you'll bend that corner in. Just keep your pressure about even, and if you press against anything, just press to keep it down straight and to keep it up against that cardboard. And occasionally I'll start giving it one of those to get rid of the excess, but you have to be very careful with that because you will get it out of square. So still I have a little hole, took a little too much off there. Got a little hole there. So we're still trying to get it all covered. Maybe this time I'm just not going to use as much pressure. See, you're not trying to get perfectly smooth with this pass. I do several small thin coats. Partly because you don't want to mess up the coat before it. So we're going to go back and take another trip into the freezer. Okay, we've chilled for about another 10 minutes in the freezer this time. And I've still got some spots that I can see the cardboard or the chocolate through. So we're just adding another thin coat. This icing is pretty soft and thin, so you can't really glop it with a real thick coat. It kind of has to be thin. Your icing may be different and you may have been done a coat ago. If you put it all the way over, all on top of the cake, kind of the coldness from the cake will set the next coat up with just a little bit. So it's good to kind of let it sit there a second before you do anything else. So there we go. Keeping your level straight as you can. Got kind of a hump there. Go back with our bench scraper. Now, our corners aren't very perfect yet, but it does look like we have good coverage. So we're not looking like we're showing the chocolate cake and we're not showing cardboard. So at this point, we're in pretty good shape. And if you want to, you can work on it a little bit more and stop here, or if you're really particular and it's not going to have a lot of decoration on it, then we're going to keep working on it. So like my round cakes, I always start from the side and feather it in. More on top of there. Let's get our squares. I would probably chill this right now if I was you, and then that way you don't have to worry about it sticking to our angle. But I'm just kind of going back and I'm going to check my sides, and if I need to, you can take a small angled spatula and you can use that to make sure your corners are just perfect. Okay, we'll blend that back in a minute. So, this is great because it sits right up against the cake too. So you don't have to use two hands for it. And you can use that spatula, you can use this spatula, whatever is easiest for you. I'm just showing you the technique. They're really in pretty good shape, but every once in a while you'll do one and you'll think it's good and it's not. So a lot of times if it's going to go bad, it's going to go bad at the top where it gets a little bit out of square. Okay, so what I've done is I've put it on this side of all the corners. Now I need to turn around and do the exact same thing, but on this side. But I can't do it right now because it's too soft. So I'm going to feather in just a little bit and then I'm going to put it back in the freezer. So the last step I did before I put it in the freezer was I ran the bench scraper along, and this gave me this little bit of lip. So what I like to do to keep my nice clean line there is to do that like I showed you earlier. Now we're going to take our 90-degree angle and we're going to make sure that the top is going to be angled properly. So when we lay that on there, okay, we know that we've got it squared up there. Okay, so we just really want to check all our corners, make sure, like I said, if you don't do that small piece of cardboard underneath, sometimes you'll have an indentation in the middle. And sometimes you need to double check yourself a little bit. This one might be hard to tell, No, it's going to be real hard to tell. It's coming out just about 1/8 of an inch here. It's a little bit. So all I'm going to do is just staying with my cardboard at the bottom and using this as my guide at the top. I'm just kind of shaving off that little bit of butter so that now it's perfect again. So, I think we're good and square. So now all you really have to do is some finish work, which you might have to just do a little bit of, a lot of, whatever. You know, if it's a plain ice cake, you don't have to do any decoration on it. Then you want to make sure it's super pretty and level. If it's going to have a lot of decoration, then, you know, you don't have to worry as much. But the corners are your absolute things that you want to keep perfect. So make sure that you've got them exactly where you want. And if not, all you got to do is just keep on loving them. And really, if you've got a dip in the corner, all you need to do, like meaning if you put a square board on top of it now, this is an 8-inch board, and it might be a little bit bigger than this because your icing made it grow. But if you put that down and you see that your cake's got a dip, or that your corner here is dented off like that, okay? This kind of gives you a good guide to see where you're at to make sure it's level. You can go ahead and put your level on it if you want to see if you're where you need to be. That will kind of make a difference too. If you're, let's say we're up high like this, then we know we need to come in here and bring that up a little bit and fit some icing in there. So just about as perfect as you want to make it. If you're going to stack it, then I would suggest highly to use the level on it and get it perfect. But I'm going to work on this for a few more minutes, but really we're in pretty good shape, and we're going to rub out the little bit of boo-boos and it'll be perfect. You'll see our finished product. Alright, so we chilled it. I worked on it a little bit more while you were gone. Made sure it was level. Make sure if you need to check it on the table. Sometimes your cake stand might not be level. So make sure you've got that done. Double check all your corners. Make sure you get them like you want to. And make sure you don't have any swooping in of the sides. And again, you can do that by just putting your square on there and making sure your stand's straight. If you time yourself, this kind of cake, a square cake, is going to take you longer than a round cake, period. Because you have these corners and you don't want to bump them and you don't want them to be rounded. You want them to be nice and square. So, you know, charge accordingly. I charge more for a square cake than a round cake because it takes me about twice as long. You'll get faster as you go, but don't feel bad if it takes you a while. Just work on it a little bit, chill it, get it back out. Don't just try to keep working with soft icing. We're going to post a recipe to a buttercream that's an all butter buttercream on this video. And we also will come out with more videos, so please go ahead and subscribe to our channel, and we will be glad to let you know when we have more videos to show. Thank y'all so much. Have a great day.